Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Hey, today we want to do a grade your portfolio. I thank y'all for submitting these. I've been behind on my grading, so I want to go ahead and jump into one. Remember the rules as always. We don't always know if this is all of their investments. We're just taking this and just giving you my thoughts and opinions on it so we can all learn. This is not investing advice. It's just my thoughts and opinions and reactions from looking at someone's portfolio that they themselves had submitted. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This is the only time you see me on screen, but you will hear me writing and reading and kind of telling you my personal thoughts about what I'm seeing. All right, that's it for me. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Here we have Nathaniel Greer, and what I love about this portfolio description, feel free to follow him on public, is this. So this gives me a lot of information, and usually when I grade these, and this is not required at all, but this is just something that does kind of help me, is that it tells me what I need to know without having a conversation. Now, obviously, if this were a client of mine, we would talk, we would discuss each of these investments and really kind of go through a full process to see if this portfolio is a good fit. But for our purposes today, just kind of walking you through my thought process and everything, here's what I know. So mainly focused on long-term investments, so I'm going to be looking for stocks and ETFs that have long-term performance. I want solid companies. I don't want to see any penny stocks or anything like that. Focused on dividends, right? Dividend king, diversified always. So it's telling me that they will likely have strong stocks that have a record of paying good dividends, and that they are going to have what we hope to be a diversified portfolio. So we're going to go through it and kind of see those things. It also says collage for business, or in collage for business, college, I'm assuming here. So this means this person is probably on the younger side, which means they can take on more risk. If you are taking on a whole bunch of risk and you are in your 50s or even 60s, that I may look at things a bit different. So we'll go ahead and kind of keep these things in mind as we're going through, because remember, obviously, personal finance is always personal, and you're trying to fit with your goals, which I don't always know when we do these, and that's a part of the fun of it. But in this case, right, we kind of have our biggest clue: long-term crypto growth. These are the things that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and jump into it now. Again, for those that don't know, perhaps this is your first video, I try to do these weekly. I haven't done them in a while, but you have to be on public. Just say, hey, look, either DM me, or the easiest way is to do a comment on YouTube or even on public. Say, hey, can you take a look at my portfolio? And we can do a video like this. You may hear some stuff in the background. I'm in a hotel room for a conference, and I want to make sure that I get this content out here so we can all learn together. All right, so as I'm going through this, I will kind of point out the things that stand out to me, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, so the first thing, this is the Wisdom Tree U.S. High Dividend Fund. That makes sense, right? Dividend King, Dividend Fund makes a ton of sense, and I've known this to be a quite solid investment for a while. Waste management, I've done a breakdown on it. I think the company is very solid. Now here's where we run into our first issue. Actually, before I get into this, let's look here. So if you scroll down, and you keep scrolling, and you keep scrolling, and you keep on scrolling, and you'll see there are 44 different holdings here. 44. And I know that diversified is obviously something that is important. I think everybody should be diversified to a degree. And 44 individual holdings is very difficult to manage and research, especially when you have one holding right here that already has 500 different ones. So you don't actually need to have 44 different holdings and then an ETF that invests in the S&P 500. You can do one or the other, or you can start to trim down. So that's my first thing in terms of grading. I would really trim this down. The numbers is up to you, but I mean, even down to like 30, even 25 to 30, I think is okay. That's still a lot, but that's okay if you're still really looking towards that diversification. So that's the first thing that I noticed. There are a lot of holdings. I would definitely trim that back. The next thing too is we've got already in the first, 5 or so, you got the S&P 500, which is always a solid investment. I never say no to an S&P 500 fund. But then you've got you have two high dividend funds, and you want to make sure that these are not duplicated. Because if you're looking for diversification, the difference between diversifying and duplicating. So if you have two of the exact same funds that do the exact same things in the exact same companies, you haven't really done much, and you want to be careful of that. So I'm going to do a quick example here. So if I go to Yahoo Finance and I see what the top 10 holdings are for the Vanguard fund. This is the Vanguard High Yield. So this one right here. So we're looking at this one first. So if I go here, I can see top holdings: JP Morgan, Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, Comcast, Verizon, Intel, Cisco. Okay, fine. Most of these are solid. But then when I do it for Wisdom Tree, these are a bit different, which is pretty good. I think was Cisco one of the ones. So Cisco is a duplication. So you've got double the amount in Cisco. I don't know if you like Cisco or not. I've got IBM, which is fine, but these seem a bit different. And now notice the totals are slightly off. There must be less in the Wisdom Fund. This is 45% of the entire ETF here. But we got Coca-Cola, we've got IBM, we got Altria. So take a look at this. Okay, so if I go through the portfolio and just kind of browse through here, we've already got some, not a lot, but we got some overlap between this here and this here. What we don't want to see is that there's another equity dividend fund here. Is this a duplication, right? Now this certainly is. If you compare SPY to VOO, you're going to get the exact same performance, and I can show you that here too. So one of these, in my view, one of these should go. That's just if you ask me, because you're investing in the exact same S&P 500 in two ways. There's two different companies that are doing it: Vanguard versus I think it's BlackRock iShares. But in either case, it's still the same 500 companies. You've duplicated there. So you're spreading yourself just a bit thin. So that if you're trying to trim down to 30, if you're trying to trim down 25, this is the absolute thing that I would do first. So I can compare it here. Let's get rid of Wendy's. So we got VOO. We know that's the S&P 500. And we can add SPY. And you can see, again, that is the S&P 500. I mean, there's a slight difference here, and that could be because of fees or a bunch of other reasons. But in your case, I mean, these are darn near identical, right? And I can add again the S&P 500 itself, and it's going to be real close, right? So I don't necessarily need both of those. So you can keep VOO and get rid of SPY, or keep SPY and get rid of VOO. So that's definitely one that I would look to kind of change things around. Next here, you got the Schwab Dividend Equity ETF. This one may be good, but again, are you duplicating? Is what you have in Schwab also what you have in Wisdom Tree, also what you have in the other Vanguard fund? So again, pay attention to that duplication. I wrote an article about this. I actually did a video on it too, where we actually showed you a website where it shows you what that percent is. So you definitely make sure that you check that out if you haven't already. So those are some of the things that stood out to me. Now STEM also stood out to me because I'd never heard of this company before. And I had to look just to see what it was. And I just went down here to 6 months, and I said, oh, we're on to something here. So this is definitely one, when you talk about growth in the profile, this is it. So you can read more about Steam here. If y'all want me to do a deep dive breakdown into this, let me know, because I'm definitely interested after seeing this. If I go back to a year, it is down 31%, which is more than the overall stock market, but it might be something here. Okay, it might be something here, just something interesting that I would be, I'd be happy to read more about. So I'm curious as to how this one came about, but that one's pretty solid. Shopify. So in a normal scenario, if you told me that you were looking for some solid returns, I would be concerned, because I know Shopify is down at least 70% this year. But if you are long term and you are looking for growth, then Shopify is okay. if that's what you're looking for, but it can be a while before Shopify gets back to what we're used to. And if you're long term and you're young, you might have time to wait around for that. I own Shopify, but I own a very, very small portion of my portfolio is in Shopify. It is not for the faint of heart, the way the stock has performed recently. But again, if you're young, if you're in growth, and that's what you're looking to do, and you're gonna hold for long term, then I could see that. Especially if it's one out of 40 different companies, then yeah, I think that's fine. Like I'm not gonna panic over that. Now, if you told me it was only 2 companies that you had, then I'd be a lot more concerned. Okay, Old Realty Corp is a very, very popular dividend REIT. Prolitis is very solid. I like Pepsi. I like Pepsi a lot. As a stock, as a beverage, I don't know if I like it that much, but it is one that I did do a breakdown on not too long ago. Nextera Energy, very solid. Y'all know how I feel about Microsoft. Meta is an interesting one. There are a lot of changes that are going on. They're trying to move to the metaverse, obviously, because of the change. We know they're going through a piracy beef with Apple. So I'm curious if Meta will be what we have known it to be in the last, let's say, 8 or 9 years or so. But again, you're young, you're focused on growth. Again, 1 out of 30, 1 out of 40 stocks, I'll take it. I think that's okay for now. Lowe's, very good dividend stock. I like that for you. I think this makes a lot of sense here. I'm not familiar with each and every one of these, but I am interested in learning more. I think the semiconductor play is just relatively solid. We know infrastructure bill and all that kind of stuff is quite beneficial for companies like this. I think last 6 months it's down, but that's not terrible. And then again, given where the market is, being down 15% isn't the worst case scenario. I'm pretty sure Nvidia is down much worse. So I think that's solid. We'll go down here, and I think this is the watch list. So here we go. All right, so back to the actual investment list as we're going through here. Okay, we talked about semiconductor. IBM. I'm a fan of IBM. I hold it myself. The difference here is that you have it here, and I think it was also in Wisdom Tree. So we got to be careful about things like this. Do you need it if this investment already has 3% of it as well? That's a question you have to ask for yourself. You really like IBM, it's fine, but you just want to be careful. Like if you're getting it for the dividend, you're technically already getting it with less risk inside of that fund. So you want to pay attention to those. So I'm scrolling through here a bit more. Costco, one of my favorites. It also pays a solid dividend, has solid growth. One of my favorite companies. Coca-Cola. Again, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was also in here. Yep. So you've already got Coca-Cola and IBM and Cisco. Cisco's in a different fund that you have. You have Coca-Cola and you have IBM. You might not need them all. So you just want to be careful again about that duplication there. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end of the portfolio. If you got Bitcoin, again, you got crypto in your bio, so that makes sense. Butterfly Network, is that I would think that's a crypto, but I don't believe it is. This is one that's new to me, and it is not a cryptocurrency. They manage medical devices. This is interesting. So you get a lot of strong. This seems to be at one point it was a penny stock. But it has some growth. Y'all always want to be careful with penny stocks. Things that are priced $5 and below. There are points where it's not $5 clearly, but it's just something you want to be careful of because it can be volatile. Because you're younger, I think it's okay. But if I look at something that's down 49%, which is well below where the overall market is, that's one I personally wouldn't invest in. But again, like you said, if you're still in college, you might be able to take that risk. It's not a risk I personally would make, but my risk tolerance is much different. Okay, let's keep going. So another one I wanted to point out here as well. Talked about Costco. Camden Property. Performance has been shaky, but they are an apartment REIT. They have properties all across the U.S., and I kept my eye on it for quite a while. But I think they're definitely pretty solid. Berkshire Hathaway, talked about it before. Apple, we've talked about it before. Altria, again, another one that I'm pretty sure was in this wisdom tree. Yes, right here, second one. So you've got 1, 2, 3, quote 4, because it's in a separate fund. So do we need all of those, or can we just stick with one of those dividend funds and call it a day? Okay, then we got Abbott Labs, Alphabet, and then you have another one here. So a bunch of different things going on here. What I will say is the main thing is you want to watch out for that duplication. And there are two things happening here. So if you are younger and you're focusing on growth and dividends, you can just hold the stocks. Altria and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and others, and probably, and I'm putting this in air quotes, probably get a better return than investing in these funds. However, you also have diversified in your portfolio or in your description. So I can be more diversified by holding the ETFs by themselves. Maybe I got my S&P fund and maybe I have 1 or 2 of the dividend funds and call it a day. I can do that and trim a lot of these smaller stocks and be diversified and also have those things for the long term. What I may not want to do and what may not be helpful or as helpful is have the stocks and then multiple ETFs. It gives you a sense of diversification and another holding and another thing to pay attention to while actually giving you no additional protections. So that's what I would look at and pay attention to. You definitely don't need multiple types of ETFs. Now, I'm not saying that this is not the one I'm speaking of specifically, but you want to make sure that there isn't significant overlap there. So we know between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you don't want to have significant overlap because then you're doubling up or even tripling up on the exact same thing. And in an example like Target is a solid company, they pay dividends, but like Target is not doing well right now. So imagine, you've got Target here and it's down, right? And then you could also have Target here, and 3 ways Target is kind of weighing you down and pulling down your potential growth across the board. That's just one example. So you just want to make sure that you're not duplicating. You want to stay diversified, but not necessarily duplicate. So that's what I would look at. I would trim this down to anywhere between 25 to 30. Make sure I can lessen that duplication and overlap as much as I possibly could. And if you have any questions on how to do that, feel free to let me know. We also talked about this in the members only, and we did a video maybe about a month ago where I actually showed you a website to give you an example of how far that overlap is and how you can trim those things down. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How many stocks do y'all have in your portfolio? Is that similar? Because I know this is a recurring theme, and I think it's okay. That's what we're here for, is to learn. But something that I start to see a pattern here. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and that's it. We'll take it from here. We'll take it next week. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.